This part may surprise you. It wasn't Bodies that got Drowning Pool signed. Benton recalled, "We'd recorded the song Tear Away that local radio stations really liked and ended up playing lots. But when Wind Up heard the full record, they said they were going with Bodies as the first single. Straight away I thought, that's it, our career is ruined before we've even started. Shows what I know."
Tear Away was hard.
An undiagnosed heart condition called a cardiomyopathy, the same condition that Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash almost died from in the early 2000s. It's a problem that prevents the heart muscle from pumping enough blood to the rest of the body. There were, however, some...
Hey, go. Foreign drugs, I'm in love with exotic highs. I miss all my fucking brothers, I know that they in the skies. I can't love none of you bitches and I never told no lies. I'ma keep the shit from...
my video tent. Drowning Pool was formed in Dallas, Texas in 1996 by guitarist CJ Pierce and drummer Mike Luce. The band took its name from the Ross MacDonald 1951 novel, which was eventually made into a film starring Paul Newman.
I'm required by law to advise you guys that my hands are registered in the state of California as lethal weapons. You understand?
It was revealed that the band's name was actually born the same night their bassist Stevie Benton lost his virginity. That night on television in the background
was Paul Newman's
1975 film. CJ and Mike were originally from New Orleans and had played together for almost a decade before deciding to move to Dallas. CJ told Designer Magazine that New Orleans was a difficult city to get gigs because bar owners wanted bands to play cover tunes and the pair wanted to perform their own original material. In addition to that, the music scene was dominated by blues and death metal bands. The pair also found it difficult to find like-minded musicians as well. Mike soon moved to Dallas for 2 years, where he met bassist Stevie Benton. There was one interview that stated that Stevie and Mike had actually known each other from before when Mike lived in Dallas for a brief period in high school. By 1996, CJ moved to Dallas, and the trio were huge fans of Pantera, who were also from Dallas-Fort Worth area. By this point, the band was an instrumental trio, and CJ came up with a guitar part for a song that later became Bodies. The band played with a few different frontmen and even had a second guitarist before Dave Williams entered the picture around 1998. Mike told the Evansville Courier and Press that the band's early sound was more progressive rock, with the band writing 8 to 9 minute songs, admitting, "We wrote songs like I Am and Told You So, which were only 3.5 minutes, that were the ones that we played at clubs live that people would just go off on."
Oh, I should have listened to that one. We heard that.
This resulted in the band shifting their sound to be more metal, and they also started to write shorter songs. And they also parted ways with their singer at the time and their second guitarist, who wanted to go in a more complex musical direction. Williams soon started fronting Drowning Pool, and the band solidified their lineup. Williams was a veteran of the Dallas music scene, having performed with different bands for over a decade. One count put the number of bands he played at around a dozen or so before he joined Drowning Pool. Some outfits he played with included Cherry Lane, Mr. Love Dog, and Fugly. One of his friends early in Williams' career was Pantera guitarist Dimebag Darrell, who gave Williams the nickname Stage, with Dime supposedly telling him, "Man, you know what? You're on the stage 24 hours a day. Even when you're not on the stage, you're on stage. So I'm going to call you Dave Stage."
Hey, that nigga's a good
Benton
guy.
admitted to Louder Sound, "We actually always wanted to be Pantera, but by the time our first album came out, bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn were popular, so when Bodies became really popular, the logic was that we also must be a nu metal band like Limp Bizkit."
Hold on, what was that? Got the Life Corn? Hold on, bro. Oh, yeah. It was so many bands that I did not know about in the 2000s. I wasn't even born then, gang. But the next song is they for
By the time Williams was in the 6th grade, he knew he wanted to be a rock star. One of the albums that greatly influenced him was Van Halen's debut record. Williams' father was a carpenter and his mother a teacher, and they were deeply religious and disapproved of their son's penchant for hard rock and metal. His upbringing and religious surroundings influenced the lyrics he'd later go on to write, something we'll talk about in a bit. There was one point in Williams' teenage years where he wanted to play guitar, but showed up to a band practice only to learn there was no amp for him to plug into, so he switched to singing. Benton reflected on Williams joining Drowning Pool, telling Louder Sound, "Dave was a real firecracker. You just never knew what was going to happen. The life of every party, to the point where if there wasn't a party, he would create one just to become the life of it."
Damn.
Drowning Pool's influences included a broad spectrum of old school rock and metal bands, including Iron Maiden, Motley Crue, Rat, Van Halen, Guns N' Roses, Skid
only
Row,
know a few of
Cinderella,
them.
and Black Sabbath. Another
Black
big
Sabbath,
influence on
though,
the
I know
band that may
them.
surprise some people is Faith No More. The band's ambitions in the early days were pretty modest. They started a band for fun, maybe to just make some beer money, and that was it. But over time, they started to play to larger audiences, which soon swelled to 500 to 600 people a night. But their penchant for hard partying resulted in the band losing money. As they started to draw bigger crowds, it wasn't out of the ordinary for the promoter to offer them maybe $200 a gig, only for them to drink their tab and then drink another $300 on top of that. So by the end of the night, they may actually be owing money like $100 to the venue owner. The band for many years played dive bars in Dallas, and the four of them were at one point living in Luce's one-bedroom apartment. But it was upon securing a booking agent, they were able to land some gigs in more regional areas like Louisiana and Oklahoma, and also get some big opening slots like for groups Seven Dust and Kitty. The band soon cut a demo tape at a friend's house in Dallas and continued to play live gigs. The group's demo soon started getting played on local Dallas station KDGE.
Oh, shit.
Soon enough, MTV and rock radio were
They got
hailing
motion.
Drowning Pool as the next big thing. Their lawyers sent their EP, which they cut Pieces of Nothing, to Creed's label Wind Up Records, who signed them in 2000. Now, this part may surprise you. It wasn't Bodies that got Drowning Pool signed. Benton recalled, "We'd recorded the song Tear Away that local radio stations really liked and ended up playing lots. But
Tear
when
Away
Wind Up
was
heard the
fire.
full record, they said they were going with Bodies as the first single. Straight away I thought, that's it, our career is ruined before we've even started. Shows what I know."
Tear Away was hard.
An early version of Bodies appeared on their EP Pieces of Nothing, which omitted the lyrics in the bridge and featured a significantly greater amount of screaming.
Unimproved.
Before the band even got their first major record deal, Drowning Pool also attracted the attention of German liquor company Jägermeister, who sponsored the band. Williams told Billboard, "It boosted our confidence quite a bit because all of a sudden it was like, wow, somebody likes our band. It felt good, and then right after that we signed with Wind Up, so it was like the machine was rolling." Drowning Pool went on to issue their debut record Sinner in June of 2001. The album's popularity was boosted by their breakout single Bodies, which was issued 1 month prior. Williams told MTV about the name of the record, recalling, "I got that Sinner tattoo tattooed before we named the record. We were working on the song Sinner, and our A&R guy said that would be a good name for the record. We all just looked at each other and said, wow, okay." It was just a natural progression that became the whole theme of the record. There were a lot of religious issues on the record and a lot of relationship issues. It just seemed like it would fit. Williams also remarked on the track order, stating, "We want to start with Sinner and end with Sermon. We covered all the bases on religion and bad relationships."
Sinner was definitely fire.
So where did the inspiration for the song Bodies even come from? The band remarked that they hadn't really heard a good moshing song in quite a while, and they decided to just write one on their own. They cited Caught in a Mosh by Anthrax and any Pantera tune as a good moshing song. Bodies soon became one of the biggest songs in the summer of 2001 and went on to be considered one of the most popular songs of the nu metal era, peaking at number 6 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock Tracks chart and number 12 on the Alternative Airplay chart. The music for Bodies saw the band performing in a psych ward, with Williams telling Spin Magazine, "We thought it would be cool to run around an insane asylum for 8 hours." The second single that was issued was Tearaway, which peaked at number 28 and 36 on the mainstream rock and alternative airplay charts.
Hey, my guy, you don't gotta keep playing them, you know. Yeah, we get it.
The band got a further boost after they were added to the 2001 lineup for the traveling Ozfest tour. Drowning Pool started playing the third stage at Ozfest, taking the stage at around 10 in the morning, but by the end of the tour, they were considered the breakout act and moved all the way to the main stage. Williams told MTV, going into it, having a 10 o'clock slot, we thought that it was going to be a challenge, but luckily, all those first couple of shows, there were a lot of kids there early. They wanted to get their money's worth. We were surely not going to let them down, whether it was 10 in the morning or 10 at night. The success of both the singles Bodies and Tearaway, as well as their appearance at Ozfest, had a lot to do with raising the band's profile and pushing their debut record, Sinner, to go platinum in just 6 months, with it eventually going on to sell about 1.5 million copies. But there was another important factor that most people don't know about. Williams told Billboard that their label Wind Up Records was also instrumental because of how they marketed the band. According to Billboard, the band's label hired kids who were fans of Drowning Pool, and they were known as street teamers or drowning victims. Billboard wrote that 1,500 drowning victims were hired by the label to spread the word about the band. One person who was part of the marketing strategy was a 23-year-old named Michael Gorko who worked at McDonald's. People like him would wear Sinner buttons on his job and build buzz about the band to coworkers and customers. Another street teamer would write the band's web address on dollar bills and give them out to people. The WWE also helped get the word out by licensing the band's song Bodies and other tracks off the album. Sinner was peppered with Williams' thoughts on organized religion and its shortcomings, a personal reflection on his upbringing. But while many people may point to the scripture as being flawed, Williams didn't see it that way. Instead, pointing the finger at people, telling the Orlando Sentinel, it wasn't so much focused on a belief so much as a single man, the preacher. All of a sudden, that guy becomes the focus, and that's not the way it is. He added that he remembered being a young kid and being at church one morning and hearing the preacher tell the congregation to smash their televisions because messages from Satan were being broadcast on them. He added, my dad looked at me and said, there's a Cowboys game on at noon, and I don't think that's going to happen. Williams added to Hit Parader, I have nothing against religion, I just have a problem with some of the messages that it promotes. Religion doesn't seem to have much flexibility. They have to recognize that all the people can't follow the same set of rules. We've all broken those rules at one point or another. In the eyes of religion, that makes us all sinners. Because of the religious themes found on the band's debut album, they were sometimes compared to labelmates Creed.
I heard Creed was a Christian band.
But Williams pushed back against those comparisons, telling the Sentinel, I've never met Scott, but my take as a listener and fan is that Scott, through his lyrics, is still looking for an answer. I'm throwing my hands up and saying, you need to show me something. I've made up my mind. As Drowning Pool was gaining momentum, they soon hit a wall. Shortly after 9/11, the band's hit Bodies was removed from Clear Channel-owned radio stations because of the line Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. Radio programmers judged that it was too insensitive after the 9/11 attacks. Williams responded to the controversy, telling the Sentinel, it hurt us a little bit. We pretty much were riding this great wave, then this happened, which nobody planned on. It's about being in the mosh pit, but we sympathize and understand why people might understand. We're Americans too. So if we're not playing it for a week or two, if that helps people get through it, we're all for it. But years down the road, the band felt a little differently. CJ stated that he was upset that the ambiguity of the song was taken away as people were no longer able to interpret the song for themselves, and instead Clear Channel decided for them. But it was reported that by October 27th of 2001, Bodies was back on the air. The band was back on Ozfest the following summer, and Drowning Pool was riding high, but it was about to come crashing down. On October 14th of 2002, the band's vocalist Dave Williams was found unresponsive on the band's tour bus in his bunk by their tour manager and guitar tech. The band was in Manassas, Virginia, en route to their next show. They had performed the previous night in Noblesville, Indiana. It was initially speculated in the media that his death was tied to drugs or alcohol, but it was later confirmed that his death had to do with an undiagnosed heart condition called a cardiomyopathy, the same condition that Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash almost died from in the early 2000s. It's a problem that prevents the heart muscle from pumping enough blood to the rest of the body. There were, however, signs that something was wrong with Williams before his death. C.J. Pierce told an interviewer that Williams was one of those guys who would never go to the doctor for anything, and in the weeks leading up to his death, he was complaining about chest pains, but he thought he maybe just pulled a muscle. A public vigil was held on August 18, 2002 in Plano, Texas, and plans for a DVD chronicling Williams' life was announced at that point. His friends and fans remembered him as one of the most genuine and nicest musicians around. By late 2002, that long-awaited documentary chronicling Williams' life was finally issued, and it was announced that the first $250,000 in sales from the DVD would be used to buy Williams' parents a retirement home, a longtime dream of the singer's. Despite all his success, Williams never seemed to forget where he came from. A 21-year-old fan from his hometown of Princeton, Texas, would write to MTV. Every time he came back to town, he would visit the school and say hi to everyone. I thought that was so cool of him. I never saw him turn down an autograph or a hug from a screaming fan. He loved what his music had made him, and he used that to change a lot of people's lives. He gave a lot of people the chance to say, "I've met a superstar." After Williams passed, the band took 4 months off, but there was never a question of whether Drowning Pool would continue. Benton told Blabbermouth, "When Dave died, we lost our best friend in the world. The last thing I'd like to think is that my other best friends, I'd have to leave them too, because we couldn't carry on together. That would just suck." The surviving members of the band retreated to Houston, Texas, staying up for up to a year in a suburban apartment, rarely venturing out and subsisting mainly on pizza from a restaurant on the building's first floor. The members decided to continue the band under the Drowning Pool moniker as a way of maintaining Williams' legacy. The band has played with several singers since Williams' passing and has put out several follow-up albums and continued to tour. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching.
Hey, that's W. R.I.P. bro, man.
Nigga, I see what the fuck I see, man. Don't tell no child say nothing to me, bitch. That nigga can't even naked. Fuck you.